The soft scratch of pen on paper drifts through the empty barracks hallway. Captain Sarah Mitchell stops walking and listens. It's past midnight, and everyone should be asleep. She follows the sound to the common room, where a single desk lamp cuts through the darkness. Sergeant Danny Walsh sits hunched over a piece of paper, writing slowly and carefully. His uniform is wrinkled from a long day, but his hand moves with purpose across the page. He doesn't notice the captain standing in the doorway. Mitchell reads the address on the envelope beside him. Mrs. Elena Rodriguez, 1240, 7 Oak Street, Phoenix, Arizona. The return address space is blank. Before continuing the story, let us know in the comments what city are you watching this story from. Sergeant Walsh, she says quietly. Danny jumps and starts to stand, but Mitchell waves him back down. She steps into the circle of lamplight and sees what he's been writing. The letter begins with, "Dear Mrs. Rodriguez," in Danny's careful handwriting. "It's after midnight," she says. "You should be getting sleep." "Yes, ma'am. Just finishing up." Mitchell notices the stack of sealed envelopes on the corner of the desk. At least a dozen, all with different addresses, all with blank return address spaces. "Who are you writing to?" Danny's pen stops moving. He looks up at her with tired eyes that seem older than his 24 years. "Families, ma'am." "What families?" Danny sets down his pen and folds his hands. "The ones who lost someone. The ones who need to know their son or daughter mattered." Mitchell pulls out a chair and sits across from him. The barracks is quiet except for the distant hum of the heating system and the occasional footstep from the duty officer making rounds. "Tell me about this letter," she says, nodding toward the paper. Danny picks up the envelope and reads the address again. Maria Rodriguez. She was 22, medic from Phoenix. She saved 3 soldiers before. He stops and looks back at the letter. Her mom doesn't know me, never heard my name, but Maria talked about her every day. What do you write? The truth, that Maria was brave, that she made terrible jokes during long patrols, that she carried pictures of her mom's garden and showed them to everyone, that when things got bad, she never stopped taking care of people. Mitchell watches Danny's face as he talks. There's pain there, but also something else. Purpose. For 6 months, Danny Walsh has been the soldier nobody really notices. He does his job, follows orders, and keeps to himself. He arrived at the base 3 weeks after a roadside bomb took out half his unit during their final patrol in Afghanistan. The surviving members got split up and reassigned to different posts. Danny never talks about what happened over there. He eats meals alone, volunteers for extra duty, and spends his free time in the base library or walking the perimeter fence. Other soldiers assume he's just working through his own problems. They don't know about the letters. Every night for the past 6 months, Danny has written to families of soldiers who died in that explosion. Not official condolence letters, those come from commanding officers through proper channels. These are personal, stories about who their children really were when no one was watching. He writes about Private Jenkins, who could fix any piece of equipment with a paperclip and determination, about Corporal Thompson, who sent half his pay home to help his sister finish college, about Specialist Chen, who learned Spanish from the local kids and taught them English in return. Danny remembers everything, every joke, every fear, every moment of courage. He carries their stories like photographs in his wallet, and now he's sending those stories home. How do you know what to say? Mitchell asks. I lived with them for 8 months. You learn things about people when you're stuck together in the middle of nowhere. You learn what makes them laugh, what scares them, what they dream about when they think nobody's listening. Danny picks up his pen again and continues writing. His handwriting is neat, deliberate, the kind of penmanship that takes time and care. Maria used to say her mom worried too much, he continues. So I'm telling Mrs. Rodriguez that Maria was always careful, that she wore her helmet, that she followed safety protocols, that she looked out for everyone around her. All true. But you're not telling her how Maria died. That's the last one, he says. The last one? From my unit. I've written to everyone. Mitchell counts the envelopes. 14 letters. 14 families who will receive unexpected mail from a stranger who knew their children in ways they never could. What happens now? Danny shrugs. Now I move on, I guess. Try to be the kind of soldier they would have been proud to serve with. He starts to gather the letters, but Mitchell stops him. Wait, there's something you need to know. Danny freezes. Mitchell reaches into her jacket and pulls out a manila folder. I've been watching you for weeks, Sergeant. The late nights, the research, the time you spend writing. I was curious. She opens the folder and removes a stack of papers. Official documents with military letterhead. These are commendation requests, 14 of them, one for each soldier you've been writing about. Danny stares at the papers. Ma'am? I contacted the families, asked them about the letters they received from an anonymous soldier. Asked them what those letters meant. Mitchell spreads the papers across the desk. Each one describes acts of heroism, moments of courage, and examples of selfless service that would have been lost forever if Danny hadn't preserved them. Mrs. Rodriguez told me her daughter saved 3 wounded soldiers during that attack. She never knew that because it wasn't in the official report. But you were there, you saw it happen. Danny's hands shake slightly as he reads the commendation requests. Thompson's parents learned their son was tutoring Afghan children in his spare time. Jenkins' wife found out her husband had been promoted to team leader just days before he died, an honor she never knew about. Chen's family discovered he was learning Pashto so he could communicate better with local villagers. Ma'am, I just told them what I saw. Exactly. And because you told them, these soldiers are getting the recognition they earned. Posthumous medals. Their names on memorial walls. Their stories in military records where they belong. Mitchell pulls out one final document, a letter addressed to Danny himself. This came from the Pentagon last week. They want to know more about your role in preserving these stories. There's talk of a formal program, soldiers assigned to document the human side of military service. Stories that matter. Danny reads the letter twice before setting it down. They want me to train other soldiers to do this. They want you to teach them how to see what you see, how to remember what matters, how to make sure no story gets lost. For the first time since Mitchell found him writing, Danny smiles. It's a small smile, but real. Does this mean I'll be writing more letters? It means you'll be helping other people write letters, official ones this time, with your name on them. Danny looks at the stack of sealed envelopes, then at the commendation requests, then at the letter from the Pentagon. What about these? He asks, touching the letters he's written. Mail them. Let the families know their children are getting the recognition they deserve. Let them know someone remembers. Danny nods and carefully places all 14 letters in a larger envelope addressed to the base postal office. Tomorrow morning, they'll begin their journey to families across the country. Sergeant Walsh, Mitchell says as she stands to leave. Yes, ma'am? Your unit would be proud of you. All of them. Danny sits alone for a few more minutes after the captain leaves. The desk lamp still cuts through the darkness, but the barracks feels different now. Less empty. Less forgotten. He picks up a fresh piece of paper and writes one more letter. This one begins with Dear Mom and Dad and includes his full name and address in the return corner. It's time to tell his own story. 3 months later, Danny stands in front of a classroom full of young soldiers, teaching them how to write letters that matter. On the wall behind him, 14 framed commendations remind everyone that some stories are too important to lose. In his desk drawer, he keeps copies of every letter he's ever written, not as reminders of the past, but as promises for the future. Promises that no soldier's story will be forgotten, no family will wonder what their child was really like, and no act of courage will disappear into the silence of official reports. The letters keep coming. Different soldiers, different families, different stories. But the same careful handwriting, the same attention to detail, and the same understanding that sometimes the most important part of military service happens when no one is watching. Danny Walsh learned to see people the way they deserve to be seen. Now he teaches others to do the same, one letter at a time.